Andy Johnson, Minnesota State University. I am the author of the book, Academic Writing, Process, and Product. We are looking today at the process used to write a literature review or a review of the literature. But first thing to know, literature reviews use academic writing, which is different than creative writing. Academic writing is concise, it's objective, and the focus is to transmit information. Concise, meaning you use as few words as possible. Too many words can clutter up and get in the way. It's objective, meaning you let the ideas speak, you let the data speak. It's not a review of what you think, it's a review of the literature. And the goal is to transmit information from point A, your head, to point B, out into the world. And you do that as economically and as efficiently as possible. That's why we like that concise, objective academic language. Now, academic writing is not difficult. As a matter of fact, it's fairly easy, as long as you follow the steps. And the steps of the super secret academic writing process have been described elsewhere. I won't go over them in this video, but I will go over the steps of the literature review, and they are common. First, put your topic in the form of a question. That question may change a little bit, but having that question guides everything else. As you gather sources, step 2, you'll only gather those sources, those journals, academic journals and books that are related to your topic. Step 3, you read and take careful notes. Having that question in place, as you read, you only take notes, record the data, record the information that is related to your question. Step 4, you look at your notes and you look for groups to emerge, common ideas, patterns. You organize your data or your notes into groups. This becomes the sections and subsections or headings and subheadings you will use in your literature review. Once you have your notes and your sections and subsections, you see your groups, they have emerged, then you create an extremely rough first draft, which is you just get your ideas on paper and revise and repeat as necessary. Easy peasy, you follow those steps. Anyone can write a literature review. And again, you start with the question. This question can change, but as I said, this initial question guides your search. As you collect data, this question can change. It's very common, but you start, what do you want to know about? Now, a literature review is a synthesis of all your sources related to your writing topic or your research topic. It examines and reviews what the literature says about your topic and describes it in an organized fashion. And again, it is a review of the literature, not a review of what you think. It's a review of the literature, not the review of a single article or a single study. Review of the literature. How many sources do you need? Well, you need to include enough sources to give you an adequate view. More sources are better than fewer sources. You need a wide enough view to accurately view your topic. You should be looking for sources in peer-reviewed journals or academic books. Now, these can be theoretical articles or they can be research reports. Both are appropriate. Research, you say? Shouldn't I just be looking for research articles? What about theoretical articles? Should you avoid those? Well, absolutely not. Research-based theories are important. Remember what a theory is. It's a way to explain a set of facts. Each one of these data dots could be facts related to specific research studies, and a theory connects the data dots to explain phenomena. All right, so it is very appropriate to use research-based theory, as long as it's found in a peer-reviewed journal, to include that in your review of the literature. Now, when preparing a research study, you're doing research, the lit review usually comes before the question, your research question, and the method section. When you're preparing a theoretical article, the lit review comes before the application, recommendations, and conclusions. Now, the purpose of the lit review is cut off there. One of those provides a theoretical and research-based context for what follows. Yes, clarifies your writing topic. It informs the reader. What's the current state of this topic? What are people talking about and writing about? It describes common themes and concepts or ideas found in the literature. What do people generally say about it? Writing about writing instruction. What do people generally say about what is the best type of writing instruction or the best way to teach phonemic awareness? Or what are they saying about phonemic awareness? It integrates knowledge found within and across disciplines, within and across. Now, within, and I'm going to use the example of education. Okay, what do they say about reading instruction within the field of literacy? What do they say about literacy instruction outside the field? For example, in literacy, I've gotten a lot of good information from reading research in neuroscience, cognitive science, even the other social sciences. These all inform. If I'm only reading a very narrow view of the literature, I get a very narrow view. But these other fields, these other disciplines can inform. So I would encourage you to read across disciplines if at all possible. It enhances the understanding of this new knowledge. Okay, here's how I understand how reading should be taught. Brings new insight to existing knowledge. Oh, based on this, here's how we should address phonemes. Novel applications of existing knowledge. Based on this data, this research from neuroscience, we should include the 3 cueing systems. Possible uses for existing knowledge to solve real-world problems, and it identifies contradictions, gaps, and inconsistencies. Now, 2 guiding principles. Number 1, again, the goal is to see what the literature says about the topic, a wide view, a wide variety of literature. The number of sources, of course, is dependent on the level and the type of writing and your advisor if you're doing a thesis or dissertation. As I said, more sources are always better than fewer sources. And the goal is to become an expert, a knowledgeable expert in what you are studying. And yes, you can become an expert if you read enough sources. The literature should be used to guide and inform you, meaning that you do not start with the answer. You're not doing a search. You're not looking for sources to support a predetermined conclusion. Confirmation biased. This is subjectivity, confirmation bias. By omission, I'm not going to include that because it contradicts my preconceived idea. Or subjectivity by inclusion. I'm only including these because it supports what I currently think. This is not good in academic writing. It's not good for our field of education. You want to let the data speak. Get out of the way. Let the data speak. There are 2 basic organizing forms for a literature review. The first is the inverted triangle, where you go from general knowledge to specific with a tight focus on your research question. Now, having this flexible structure in place before you begin looking for sources can guide your search. It's flexible, meaning it always changes. For example, I was doing a literature review on the impact of emotions on learning to read. Inverted triangle. First, what did the literature say about emotions? What did it say about learning in general? Emotions and learning to read. General tight focus, specific research question, the impact of emotions. What are the impact of emotions on learning to read? And this all brought me to a place where I was a knowledgeable expert and I could write a review of the literature. The other one is the emerging structure or a skeleton. You allow the structure of your literature review to emerge from your sources. And I'll show you an example of that. But during the pre-drafting phase, as you are writing and taking notes, organizing, you're looking for these patterns, these themes, these common ideas to come from the data. You use inductive analysis, which is described in chapter 3 of my book. You're analyzing, you're inducing order on the field being your notes, to look for these superordinate and subordinate structures, these sections and subsections that become headings and subheadings. The initial organizing structure is used to guide the first draft, all right, and to search for additional sources. All right, this is my first draft. You can see my headings and subheadings, superordinate and subordinate categories, and I like to use color to make them stand out. But as I was writing this first draft, I realized I was continuing my search for ideas and sources, and this guided my search for additional sources. I like to continue to read, even though I think I've gotten all the sources I possibly can. I always continue to look for new sources and to read. We've talked about the question, putting that question, your writing topic, in the form of a question. It enhances the efficiency and effectiveness when selecting and evaluating sources. And this question can provide an initial structure for your writing. Here's an example. I was writing on mental health and adolescence. I used some of these questions to guide my initial search for sources, and I use these questions to guide my note-taking. I only took notes that related or answered these questions. Now, even though I had a pretty good idea of where I wanted to go with this literature review on mental health and adolescence, I didn't have a lot of information. I'm an old literacy professor. This was outside my field. Even though I had some ideas, I let the data speak to me and guide me, and it changed my thinking considerably. So the question guides your source selection, your reading, and your note-taking. As I've said, that specific question enhances the efficiency and effectiveness. And you can see, again, the steps of the literature review. Put your topic in the form of a question, gather sources, read, take careful notes, groups emerge, organize, and you see that there. The steps of the literature review. These are not linear, these are recursive steps, meaning that you may want to skip some or repeat some. The process used in writing a review of the literature. It's easy as long as you follow the steps.